Hello and welcome again to Decode India. We try and bring issues in front of you to discuss with some eminent person who's closely involved either in the creation of the issue or is an expert on the subject. And today our subject is income tax. Bit dry, but until you start paying it. And to discuss this we have I'm hesitant to say that I call him in the capacity of a politician, because he began his career as one of the finest academic minds, not just in India, but actually in the world. He was at Harvard. Until recently, he was still teaching at Harvard. Subramanian Swamy, who is with us today, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, had not joined politics, would he have been today Dean of Harvard? Would you?
Doesn't matter. It's an administrative position which has no academic value.
Would you have won the Nobel Prize for Economics?
Well, that was predicted by my teachers, who themselves got Nobel Prize. And one of the joint papers I wrote with Paul Samuelson on
who got the Nobel Prize?
Who got the Nobel Prize, in fact, first, when it was instituted. When he and I jointly authored an article on a research paper on index number theory. The wide impression was that if I subsequently followed up with that and wrote a book on the treatise on index number theory, I would get the Nobel Prize. But then I decided to come back to India.
And the index numbers theory was what, precisely? Quickly, I mean...
You see, it's a theory basically on how to construct a index number.
Well, all right, I'm sure... you don't really understand what he said, because I didn't. However, we have brought him here to discuss an idea which has sort of emerged from a submerged position in Indian politics.
Yes.
It's a very interesting idea, very interesting. I don't know if it's workable or not, but basically the idea is that India can survive and do so very happily without any income tax. Right?
Personal. No, yeah, that's right. This is not a new idea for me. I've been advocating it for a long time. The issue is this. Why do we impose income tax? We impose to collect resources and to say that there should be some equity, because we then make it a progressive income tax. This is the argument. Now, both these arguments become hollow in the Indian context, because the collection of our income tax is so terrible and is so subject to corruption and other things that there is no equity principle in today's income tax. In fact, you find it's basically the middle class which pays the income tax. Most of the rich people have chartered accountants to tell them how to make the exemptions.
Now, decoding that means that the rich cheat.
Of course they do. No one in their right mind would pay this kind of income tax, you see.
But our income tax is only 40%. Right?
Well, it may be 40%, but the question is the alternative uses of money is so fetches such a high return that even 40% is quite large.
Britain has 50%. Right?
Yeah, Britain has, but they have very little alternative opportunities like we have in our country.
What are the alternative opportunities?
Oh, the use of money in real estate, the use of money in manufacturing, the use of money in exports. So basically what the goal is that if you abolish income tax, then the rate of saving will go up. People will save more. If they save more, there will be more investment, which means more growth. In fact, you would get back some of that money through the indirect tax system, because the growth has grown, so the sales will increase, and the sales through that you get the excise. So
well, basically what you're saying is, because this is a culture of black money,
yes,
because it's a culture of evasion,
yes,
because this country is so corrupt,
yes,
you might as well abandon a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea, because today how many people pay income tax? 30.
Because it's a culture of evasion,
yes,
because this country is so corrupt,
yes,
you might as well abandon a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea, because today how many people pay income tax? 32 million people. Now, of this, only 40,000 pay more than 40,000 have more than 1 crore a month income. All right.
That's a lot. 1 crore a month.
1 a month.
I mean, I suppose unless you're a Delhi minister.
No, now, yeah, well, now in the kind of money people are making, I'm saying that the proportion, or the total proportion of people paying income tax is just 3%. And the bulk of the people who actually end up paying are the middle class. So I am motivating the middle class to save more. I am also saying that by abolishing income tax, you will reduce this corruption, bribing of income tax authorities. And therefore, I think that it will have a salutary effect on the economic generation.
Surely, when you have a transaction tax, which is basically...
Don't jump to this transaction tax, because that's one alternative way of generating resources. That's still under discussion. Income tax abolition is something that will make the people very happy, because not only they have to pay income tax, but they have to suffer the indignities of the income tax officer.
So shall I say that Swamy, the great crusader against corruption, has now formally bowed his head towards corruption and said, if I can't abolish it, I might as well live with it?
No, I would say that I am being more practical of how to minimize corruption. One way is to catch people, particularly those who fool around with our licensing system and our natural resources and the allocation of resources. And on the other side, to see that you have systems which people can obey happily. That is it's not a question of buckling to corruption. It is efficiency. In fact, for a long time, for instance, one of the most premier industrialists of our country didn't pay any income tax till 1996.
We shan't mention his name for fear of libel.
No, I can mention his name if you like.
Yeah,
Dhirubhai Ambani. He didn't pay any income tax till 1996.
And that is perfectly legal, of course.
Yes, because he had all these exemptions and willing officers to say it is genuine. So I think what I am trying to do is clean up the system. And the cleaning of the system is not only by putting people in jail. They are also incentivizing them to be honest.
Yeah, but we are not really in a regime, frankly, of say Y.B. Chavan or Indira Gandhi, in which you reached the absurd proposition of 102% income tax.
That's because of wealth tax. That's gone. You see, today in India, agricultural income doesn't have income tax. There are lots of other areas where there is no income tax. So why this only on this 3%? When you have exempted so many categories.
How much revenue would you lose in the first year if we abolish income tax?
2 lakh crores.
Yeah, and where are you going to get that 2 lakh crores? Because the government of India's current account deficit is not something to write home about.
Well, we have got 3G and 4G auctions coming up. Yes, then you will get 4. And once you auction coal blocks, you will get 11 lakh crores. That means 5 years you can do without it.
Yeah, but all that will happen before you come to power.
Oh, you mean auctioning of coal? No, not at all. Only for 4 months. Even the cancellation has not taken place. The court has said that we are considering it.
But I think spectrum is being auctioned before in the life of this
government.
But
we have to. You think the demand for spectrum is going to just die with one auction? There will be more auctions, and then there will be other generations: 3G, 4G, 5G. 4G is still to come. You see.
So why do some members of your party, the BJP, call your ideas regression into Vedic times?
Well, I mean, criticism is always healthy, but the fact of the matter...
Always is the first time I'm hearing always.
Yes, criticism is always healthy because you are alerted to what you're facing. But I think, you see, the issue is, today if you took a poll, I would say 90% of the people would welcome this. 90%
of those paying taxes. But what about 90% of those who are not paying taxes? And what about the poor? Who think that their tax, your taxes, my taxes, are actually going into their welfare?
If I tell the poor that this will lead to reduction of corruption, they will accept it.
They won't believe you.
I don't know. You see, I have told this in the time we brought economic reforms. If you remove our quotas and licenses, the people will object. Not at all. The boom in the economy was such that the people welcomed it. Today, reform is something which every party accepts, including the socialist parties. So I don't think, you should not think that the poor have no intelligence.
There is one party which doesn't accept reform. We've forgotten that.
Which party is that?
Aam Aadmi.
They don't have a program on anything. I have confronted them. I've confronted their recent high society ladies and gentlemen who have joined the party. What is your program? They don't have a program. They don't have a policy. They have events, you see, like sleeping on the road, or breaking 144, or promising water which they can't deliver, or promising electricity cuts which they are not able to implement. So I think Aam Party is not to be taken seriously as far as governance is concerned. I have thoroughly investigated them and come to the conclusion that they are Naxalites. And I've been saying this not now, from day one. You see, take any of their connections. You look at their manifestations of it. Binayak Nayak, that Binayak fellow who was in Chhattisgarh, I mean, they went all hog. Look at their stand on Kashmir. I mean, that is the fact that in organic unity of India, they don't accept. They are in favor of...
the organic unity of India, is that different from the geographical unity of India?
Well, that's geographical is a physical concept. Organic unity is the mindset. I am an Indian from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. But if you say, no, we are different people, we are multiracial, multilingual, multi-this thing, and each of them have a right to secede, like in Kashmir, Prashant Bhushan said, that means that you are a communist, because that being the standard communist line.
To be fair, the communists as exist in the formal parties of India,
yes,
they don't accept the secession.
No, but they are not, the formal communist parties are not Naxalites. These are Naxalites. They believe in disruption.
Now, before we end the first half of our discussion,
yes,
I'd like to actually ask a question which may sound a bit repetitive, but it has come from Payal Mehta in Kolkata and boils down to this. Is your idea practical and feasible, or is it one of the things that academics love as theoretical propositions?
Practical, it is practical because it's a central subject, and you don't need anybody's permission to do it. So it's very practical. Will it lead to chaotic situation? Obviously not, because the only chaos that can be caused is if you can't fill the hole that will be created of 2 lakh crores, which I can give you 1,000 ways to fill it without difficulty. Now, there will be a problem what to do with these income tax officers, and I think we have to find them alternative ways of functioning.
We will decide on which alternative jobs an income tax officer can do, apart from knitting and making Subramanian Swamy.
No, they can form another armed party, you see.
But we'll have to do it, I'm afraid, on the other side of the break. See you in a very, very short while. Welcome once again to Decode India, and as you know, at least those of you who have been following us, know that today our guest is Dr. Subramanian Swamy. We did mention income tax officers. That was a note on which we paused. And Arvind Kejriwal, of course,
yes,
is a former income tax officer. What alternative job would you suggest for Kejriwal?
Well, Kejriwal, I think now is run himself into a dead end, and I don't think there's anything else except for him to retire once he's thoroughly exposed and discredited.
But why did the middle class of India fall in love, or at least some sections of the middle class fall in love with him? If he is, what you say, a Naxalite, if he is a disruptor,